What's next for you? How do you feel? What's going through your mind right now? Hey there, Love MMA and bare knuckle fight fans. Look who I got in the house today. BKFC 9 fighter, Kaleb Harris. Kaleb, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Just on my lunch break from work today.
All right. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Now, we are not so far away from BKFC 9. I got to ask you, how has training camp been going so far?
It's going great. I'm feeling like a champ already. Just running rounds, training every day, training 3 to 4 hours a day, and just focusing on head movement, combos, and just I'm looking to put on an even better show than I did at the last one.
Oh, wow. We'll get to that, how you could possibly do that later on in the story. But I first want to talk about your opponent, Drew Lipton. How do you think you match up stylistically with Lipton?
I've watched Lipton fight both times in bare knuckle. I've never seen him fight MMA. I watched my very first bare knuckle fight that I actually attended was when he fought Chris Lytle.
Right.
I feel like he comes out with a lot of pressure. I feel like I'm going to either have to beat that pressure in the beginning or I'm going to play the long game. Just going to kind of play and see how it feels on that night. But I feel like it's going to be a good fight.
I definitely think it'll be a good fight. You know, it's interesting because certain factors sometimes do come into play in a fight, and you are 5 inches taller than Lipton. So does that mean it's going to be a clear and easy win for you?
I don't ever like to look at anybody as a clear and easy win because at the end of the day, we're two fighters stepping into the cage, and he's putting it on the line just as much as I am. With me having the height advantage, I do feel like clinch will come into play a lot more. I feel like as the taller fighter, I'll be able to control the clinch a lot more. Yeah. But we just have to play it and see. I've been the taller fighter most of my life in MMA, so it's not going to be much different in bare knuckle.
I'm going to read you a quote from Drew Lipton's Facebook page right now. And I quote Drew Lipton, "Thanks, Nate Shook, David Feldman, for giving me another shot and letting me retire with the best company in the world. Michael Johnson, Russell Gray in my corner again. I can't wait. Thanks for my opponent for taking the fight at 165. But I'm a little confused. Don't you already fight at 165?
I do. My first bare knuckle fight, I fought at 170 against Harris. And then when they actually started implementing actual weight classes, I took my second fight with Vistante was at 165, and I told them that I've always told Nate Shook and David Feldman I'll fight from 55 to 70, but that 65 is my home. I feel great fighting at 65, so maybe he just misunderstood, or maybe he thought that I fought because all my MMA fights were at 155, but it's no big thing. I'm glad he's wanting to fight at 165 because, I mean, that's my weight.
Good for you. So then the weight cut really isn't a big factor then for you at the 165 limit.
No, at 165, I've stayed within, like, I was 10 pounds out from fight weight last night, eight pounds out 2 nights ago. I posted a picture of Facebook the other day. I had a ribeye steak and veggies for supper one night versus when I'm at 55, I'm having to pretty much eat like a rabbit to make sure I get the weight down and keep muscle on. But at this weight, I feel good. I don't have to stress on cutting weight or anything like that. I know the weight's coming off.
Lipton is coming off a loss at BKFC 6, and you also mentioned the first time you became acquainted with him and saw him fight was at BKFC 2 with Lytle, where I thought personally he showed a lot of heart in that fight, losing unfortunately to Lytle, and I believe it was round 1. Do you respect him as a fighter?
Oh, I respect any man that's willing to step in the cage. I do know that Lipton, I know he's got a lot of experience in the ring. I don't recall his exact record, but I know that he's got a ton of fights as an MMA fighter. Yeah. He's obviously was not scared to step in on short notice to fight Chris Lytle or his guy at BKFC 6. So any man that's willing to jump in there and at the last minute to take a fight, I got respect for. And I remember watching him and Chris Lytle fight. I mean, Chris Lytle's a beast anyway. So, I mean, he went after it. I mean, he didn't back up. He didn't run. I mean, I have respect for him.
Yeah, that was a very good fight. I agree. All right, speaking of good fights, we have to talk about the most outstanding win ever. And, folks, I was there, so I can tell you it was awesome. Johnavan Vistante, break that fight down for us.
I knew that it was his debut in the bare knuckle. I actually did not know any of the stuff that he had said beforehand, as far as like him thinking that he was going to outbox me, and because he had grew up street fighting, I didn't. I even told the interviewers my first bare knuckle ever was with Harris.
Right.
But I told all my teammates and my coaches, I said, I know what to expect. He doesn't. I'm fixing to come in here, and I'm gonna show him that it's a whole different world. And from the time they said knuckle up, I never let off the gas. I trained that whole fight camp just like I trained for every fight camp to be able to go. If I don't get a chance to stop throwing punches for the whole 2 minutes, I'm not going to. And that's the way I train now. And I could tell with Vistante, he was starting to get discouraged because I was dropping him. I actually thought that they had the 3 knockdown rule in effect, so I was a little surprised once they stood him back up the third time and continued. But the second round came, I was in my corner in between the first and the second round, and I told him, I said, I'm ending it in the second. And I didn't know that I was going to end it that way, but opportunity arose, the right hand was in the right spot, and that was all she wrote, which, again, I have a ton of respect for Vistante because, I mean, the man's had 20 pro fights before he stepped in the ring with me.
Yeah, your right hand was at the right place at the right time. That was an outstanding win. And I believe that if you haven't had a chance, by the way, folks, you can still catch that fight on Fight TV. It's something definitely not to be missed. I wanted to ask you today, before we go, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I want to use this opportunity, like always, to let the world know that I'm a firm believer in suicide awareness. In fact, I'm in talks right now to have a sponsor of BKFCs that makes their flags and stuff to have a suicide awareness flag that I carry out on my shoulders to the fight. Awesome. And I just want anybody that's out there to hear this. I'm a pro fighter. I live a wonderful life. I have wonderful friends and families, and I still fight with depression. I still fight with anxiety. And there's some days where if I didn't have the right people coming up to me and telling me everything's going to be okay, there were times in my life where I was in a dark place. And I just want anybody that might ever hear this message to just know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, but you've got to keep walking. You can't stop and sit in the tunnel.
What great advice, and how kind of you to share that personal information with viewers, because I think because you are a person that's now a celebrity and famous, and you're also a man, and men are rough and tough and really sometimes are not allowed to show their emotions or are not supposed to show their emotions. It was very kind of you to share that with our viewers. And I do hope that people do listen to that and do know that there is hope for people, and they don't have to be ashamed about depression or anxiety. So I think it's really important for people to understand that this is a really important issue. I think back to someone like Morgan Mindy and Robin Williams, who was just in such a deep, dark place, he committed suicide. And I often wonder, now we have more awareness of it. Maybe just if you can help just one person, it's enough of a blessing. So thank you so much for sharing that. I do have to ask you one question before we go. How has your life changed since that fight with Johnavan?
Well, my teammates like to pick on me a lot, call me superstar and everything else. I got a couple of teammates that every time we get done training and we go to the gas station, he won't shut up telling all the cashiers and stuff that I'm YouTube famous or whatever. But for me, nothing's changed other than I have a bigger platform to talk about, what I want to talk about. I've picked up a few new sponsors, but for the rest of it, it's still, I'm same old, just chasing my dreams of trying to one day not have to worry about working during the day, just train all day and make my living off of fighting. And so other than that, I mean, nothing's really changed. Just train harder and got more people to impress now.
Good for you. All right, fight fans, you can catch BKFC 9. That event is going down Saturday, November 16th at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. You can get your tickets at www.bareknuckle.tv. As always, I will be there bringing you all the action, all the information, all the drama, and all the fight news. Help a girl out. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this, leave a comment. And yeah, I'm that crazy person that reads all those comments myself at night, because if I can talk to fight fans, why sleep? Kaleb Harris, I wish you good luck, and I'll see you at BKFC 9.
See you there.